started out as an hour long. It would play all local records. And then that hour grew into, like, I think 2 hours. And it was the most popular radio show in the city because everybody could submit records. If your record was mixed and mastered, it had a good shot at getting played. And a few people would work the record out of that pool on Sunday night into, like, you know, mix shows. And then from the mix show, you maybe had a slim chance of getting into regular rotation, but that chance was very slim. And they took that away recently because there was some junk going on down there with, of course, payola and corruption and stuff like that. And I don't think the two DJs that had the show were responsible, but it was the DJs, ironically enough, the DJs outside of that show that hardly ever played local records had something to do with that show getting canceled. You know, like, they affected that show. The corporate guys used that, like, well, we don't know what's going on with Home Jamz. We don't know who's paying to get spins on Home Jamz. And hardly anybody was. But that is crazy because you would listen to Home Jamz, and if you came to St. Louis, you'd be like, okay, let me listen to this joint and see what the St. Louis music sound like. And there was no unified sound. There was no, everybody was making records that they thought people in Atlanta were making. Like, they were emulating, like, what they thought was working in other markets. And it was just crazy because, like, I just was like, where are, like, there was an overwhelming amount of whackness. You know what I'm saying? Like, you had to listen for, like, 2 hours and maybe stumble on a dope record, you know? Like, possibly, you know? And then as an artist, we complain about our cities and our regions not supporting us, but the records that we putting out, like, what are we doing? You know, like, it was just madness. And to touch back on what Torre had said, he mentioned Bomb Squad. I remember guys like Ice Cube, when he had left NWA, he had to go work with Bomb Squad. And the only way that he would really get embraced by certain people in different markets was by working with them. Like, they didn't respect what he was doing until he did that. And you look at guys like Raz Cash, who was, in the 90s, he was one of the dopest lyricists ever. But his whole buzz was built off of being the West Coast dude that could rap equal to the East Coast dudes. You know what I'm saying? Like, even now, when I put out music coming from St. Louis, they base it upon, okay, can he compete with the dude that's the most lyrical cat from NYC? You know, and I think even Kendrick Lamar, part of his buzz has to do with the fact that he's from the West Coast but can really rap, you know? And it's just crazy, like, because there is no, like, regional sound can hurt and it can help. Like, if I put out a record and it sounds too St. Louis, it's going to stay in St. Louis, you know? Like, and it may not even get acclimated in St. Louis. It's a wild, you know, circle of events.
Yeah, perfect example.